Hey guys, Cabo here from Vito's blog, and I'm here with Wally Reyes, the phenomenal percussionist from Chicago, who's actually a lot more, as we all know, fantastic drummer as well. Wally, how are you?
Excellent.
We're here in Atlantic City. We're going to talk a little bit about Chicago, but we're going to talk about Wally World in a second. But first, let's talk about Chicago. The tour's going great with Earth, Wind, and Fire?
Excellent. I mean, these two bands, Earth, Wind, and Fire in Chicago, when they're together, is just not only for the audience but for us. It's like you really look forward coming to play the concert because it's almost like, yeah, I can't wait.
Between all the equipment and the stage is massive and the crew, there's so much going on. It really must be quite an experience for you.
Yes, it's amazing because we open up the show, three of us playing a Chicago song, Earth, Wind, and Fire, together. Earth, Wind, and Fire does like 40 minutes, something like that. Chicago does 40 minutes. Then we play 6 mega hits together. So I get to play Earth, Wind, and Fire songs and Chicago songs with Earth, Wind, and Fire. So it's like 21 people on stage.
Now, Wally, you joined the band in 2012. We know your history with Santana. I wanted to ask you, when you join a band that's established like Chicago, and I remember Tris talking about this, do you replicate the songs the way they were originally written, or is there some liberality you can take with the interpretation of the song?
Well, that's a very good question. My approach of my experience with Santana, Steve Winwood, Lindsey Buckingham, and Chicago, which I mentioned these bands because they have a humongous amount of music and history. You have to pay respect to who came there before you, and when I usually listen to the latest concerts that they've been doing, because some of the tempos sometimes change, the keys, sometimes they might not want the stuff that they were doing on the record, and they changed it. So I came in, Drew Hester was playing percussion, and he went with Joe Walsh, and then my brother Danny was playing with Chicago. On his way, he was playing with Zac Brown Band also, and when I came to sub my brother got made a member of the Zac Brown Band. So I was doing what these guys have been doing with the show. But I knew the songs by heart and knew what Luigi de Oliveira played. I saw them live in Las Vegas, 1974. In fact, I told Danny Serafin and Luigi de Oliveira at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, one of the first time that a girlfriend has ever left me was that I brought her to the New Year's Eve Chicago Madura show, and with a couple of friends, and she was sitting kind of like where you are right now. And when Chicago started, I couldn't really see the drum because there was too many people in front. He goes, "Would you mind if I go and check out the drummer?" And she goes, "Yeah, okay." And I went over there and I was like this, looking at Danny Serafin, and all of a sudden 2 hours went by and the show finished. So when I went back to the seat, I think that was
Caliente.
Mucho caliente. She was really caliente. Not happy. So that I really learned all the parts. But me as a drummer percussionist, I was looking at those two guys. I was listening to Danny and Luigi, what they were doing and how they were doing, and what a mixture. So I knew the repertoire. So when I started with Chicago, I did what my brother Danny, Serafin, and Drew were doing, and little by little, I started bringing in some of Luigi stuff or my stuff, and then if I get the approval of the main guys, because it's basically you're working for Jimmy Pankow, Robert Lamb, Lee Loughney, and Walter Perazzator, and the manager Peter Chiavarelli. So basically we don't have like a producer, and of course the band. And if they say, "Man, that's really great, I like that," I keep it. If, like Jimmy one time told me, "I prefer no congas in this tune, just kind of shaker," and I said, "Yeah," because he's the writer. Just like when I wrote my songs, I know what I want on the songs,
Now, every Chicago song doesn't have percussion. Color My World.
Right.
What do you do, or what did you do in interpreting songs that didn't have a heavy percussive background to it?
Well, me being a drummer, sometimes I have to say I really don't like when when I'm playing minimal on the drum set, and it needs a lot of air, and then there's a percussionist, and they think that they have to fill up the spaces all the time. So the best thing and the most musical thing sometimes a drummer or a percussionist can do is play nothing. I mean, like Ry Cooder said, the silence between the notes is what really makes the stuff powerful. And so on Color My World, that's a good example. I usually would leave the stage because there's nothing to play on that song. And what Tris plays right now is just perfect and beautiful. So I actually did a little trick when it was really difficult to leave the stage. Instead of standing there and just watching Tris play, I got this little silent shaker. And I actually act like I'm playing, but in reality, it's just very minimal, and it doesn't add anything, but it's just, so it complements the hi-hat a little bit. But it's just, sometimes it's just almost like the eggs don't need salt. And sometimes they just need a little tiny bit. And I measure percussion and drum set, like if you actually are cooking and you got the main dish, you got meat and potatoes, that's Tris, that's the beat, like meat and potato. But sometimes it needs a little garnish, the potatoes need a little butter, a little bit of bacon bits, and the steak needs a little steak sauce. So that's the percussion. So between the it's basically it's a coloring and a complement, and then the whole thing sounds beautiful, And today a lot of people do it with the tracks. You get a lot of bands, they have to play with the, and that's really cool. But it's basically you're playing not with a human being. So there's a different situation. I'm not saying that is bad. I love to do that all the time, and I do it. I actually play with drums and percussion and a couple of percussionists, even with tracks. Sounds great. But there's something about action-reaction when it's a human, between drummer and percussionist. And that's what Tris and I do all the time. Sometimes I'm playing percussion and I go, and I look at him, we're listening to each other.
I'm the man. I mean, that solo really has really elevated the both of you. Not that you needed it, but Chicago fans wait for that now, don't they?
Yeah, it's really powerful. I'm a Man is actually a Steve Winwood song, but the funny story, the first time I heard I'm a Man was Chicago Transit Authority, and I fell in love with it. I went like, oh my God, that's like, it's Latin, but it's not, so it's just like, it was so different. I remember it was like a 8th grade, something like that, and I scratched the record so many times I played it over and over and over. And then I played it with Steve Winwood in 1994, and I did I'm a Man. And there's different versions that he does, the Traffic version, the Steve Winwood version. So we used to do different versions. And I love the song no matter what. What we do with Chicago now with I'm a Man is unique. It's not the old Chicago version.
Oh, you look like you're having fun with that one, that's for sure.
Yeah.
You look like you're having a lot of fun. I have to ask you, where is Wally World?
Well, Wally World, my CD, actually I named it Wally World because it's basically my experiences of me absorbing all the music and the grooves while I've been traveling around the world with different artists making music. Even though I was born in Cuba, raised in Puerto Rico, and I started playing drums in Puerto Rico and then moved to Las Vegas, that doesn't make a man just like where he was born. It's like the whole experience. And I'm very blessed that I started traveling when I was in college. I left college in Las Vegas to go on the road with Lola Falana and Marilyn McCoo, Polanca, to go all over the world. And then I moved to LA and continued to go all over the world. Tania Maria, David Lindley, then Santana, 89. I mean, they just didn't play locally. So it was going to Paris again, going to Asia again, going to Africa, Central America. After a while, the older you get to know people at airports in some of these places. You learn, bonjour, hey, ¿cómo está? So that experience of the different music and culture and food and the whole vibe of the places that I visited, I wanted to put on my music, my interpretation, and that's Wally World, my CD. So it starts with the Venezuela Joropo track. It goes to Afro-Cuban Abacoa rhythm with rock influence. It goes to the Caribbean, North Brazil, South Brazil, New Orleans, New York City, Asia, Africa, and it ends up in India. And that's Wally World.
Now, your daughter's on Wally World as well, right?
Yeah, Liliana, while I was doing and finishing the CD, she was so busy at USC, and I'm so honored that she took the time to come in and do these tracks. She was finishing her final at USC, and then she got the job with George Benson. So she's singing and playing percussion with George Benson, traveling, and that was very hectic for her to achieve that. And I was able to get her in the studio, and she sang on the CD. Didn't have time to feature her, like in main vocals, but she was on the CD. And, I wish it was very difficult to actually get my father, which lives in San Francisco, and my brother that now lives in Georgia, Danny. I didn't have like the means of the budget. I didn't have no budget. So I did what I could. And there will be hopefully another CD with hopefully my whole family in it.
Now, Wally, tell us, how did you record the album? Because there's a little bit of a story behind that.
Yeah, I started the CD because it was like an extension of my Global Beats DVD, instructional DVD that I did for Hal Leonard, which is the same thing, different grooves around the world, and not just, the boom, bop, but different rhythms, different options. And it was not about technique, it was just about feelings and grooves. And the co-writer, Roger Byrne, said, man, we should record some of these tunes and other tunes really great, in the studio, the way we really want them. I go, okay, so we started it. And he got cancer, and unfortunately he passed away. And then my CD just lay there for a long time. And then friends of mine like Michael O'Neill, Kevin Ricard, Richie Garcia, percussionist, guitar player, Michael Thompson, goes, man, come on, let's do it, let's finish it. And they really inspire me, and I started bringing the main tracks and one by one to their home studios and stacking them with what the music needed. And then I have another collaboration from my bass player friend Ricky Encarnacion from Puerto Rico. He had some edited tracks and stuff, and we started putting musicians in Puerto Rico, musicians in LA. We collaborated, I think, like 2 tunes, and it was just like a collaboration all over the world. Like, send me the tracks, I'll send you people recording. And then at the end of it, John Silas mixed it. He's an amazing young mixer, and I did a lot of the tracks at Studio C at the Steakhouse in Hollywood. In North Hollywood. Josh Egan, my friend there, just helped me immensely. And yeah, it was like I didn't have any budget, so I did what I could whenever I could. And while I was on the road, Lou Pardini, which plays keyboard and one of the lead voices in the band, played amazing keyboard player in one tune. He played beautiful piano. And Keith Howland played guitar on another tune that is kind of like a Latin pop kind of thing. And Keith mastered one track and then mastered another track, and I went, man, this is like as good as a master that have I ever heard in my career. And so he mastered the whole album. Keith Howland, the guitarist in Chicago.
Very nice.
Yeah,
Very
he's
nice.
an amazing engineer, composer, guitarist, singer. This guy's with Chicago. What you see sometimes is just part of the talent. You know what I'm saying? We're here to honor the Chicago music book, but you see sometimes some of these guys, you see Jimmy sitting in the piano, you go, Jimmy, damn, you know what I'm saying? And you see Keith engineering something, so Tris plays harmonica. It's unbelievable. This band is so full of energy and talent that we keep each other entertained in the bus.
Well, like I said, you the drum solo you seem to take over the. You really seem to enjoy that and do great with it. We're excited to listen to Wally World. We're excited to see you play with Earth, Wind, and Fire. What's next for you?
Well, I'm recording right now with when I do Chicago on the road. We basically do like 7 to 8 months in and out of the year. And the times that I'm not with Chicago, I'm doing other things in LA. I mean, it's not just like I need to work or money thing. It's just I'm not one of these guys that can lay in a beach for a week doing this. I'll go crazy, you know. And so I love to write music, compose music, play on other people's projects. Play. Right now, I'm learning more of a percussion samples and not necessarily electronic drums, but ways that you can actually apply other sounds on the technological way. You know, and then keeping up with the drums, keeping up with other percussion instruments, always learning something. And so I'm recording my band Wally World live, and that's almost like a classical rock, classic Latin, classic R&B with a twist. And the other day we went into the studio and recorded, it sounds like salsa music at the beginning, but then I put the beat, Use Me, Bill Withers. So it has a twist to it. I recorded a rendition of Southern California Purple, a rendition of Can't Find My Way Home, and a rendition of Walking in Your Footsteps, Sting song, doing like a guaguancó rumba style. So, you know, that's all like dancing music, classic rock music, and that's the next CD. I already started it by default because we need to do something to
Well, you
show
just don't
the band.
slow down, do you?
No, but neither does my dad, and he's 83, and he's just like has more energy than me.
Why don't you tell our readers where can they find your record?
CD Baby has it, Amazon.com, iTunes. It's Wilfredo Reyes Jr., Wally World. And it's like a beautiful cover. Right now, unfortunately, I don't have one with me. I have them in the tour bus, and they're far away. And so, but I'll definitely will send you one.
We're excited. We're
Yeah.
excited to listen to it. And you know what? You were just a bundle of energy. Folks, it's the great Wally Reyes. Just catch him on tour. Check out his new album, and we look forward to listening to it. Wally, thanks for a few minutes today.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I appreciate you coming here and hanging out.
Thanks, guys. With Chicago and Wally Reyes in Atlantic City. Cabo for Beatles Blog.
Thank you.